This is Mike from Austin, Texas.
Hey, what's up, Mike? We're doing the morning show now. I was thinking about it and I was like, I have like the way that my schedule works is I'm usually busy. I'm a morning person. This morning I work out at 5 a.m. and I work out with a group of guys here in Tuscaloosa. It's like military boot camp style. Today we're at downtown Tuscaloosa, and we got after it. It's phenomenal. But I'm a morning person. I like it. I like the camaraderie. And then I was looking at 9 a.m. and I was like, I think I could do a daily 9 a.m. show, and I should try it during the week and just kind of see the feedback and get some callers. So I appreciate you because I know you usually call in on our evening shows, which I'm still going to do. I'm still going to have my Wednesday and my Sunday night show, but I just kind of wanted to test the waters on the morning show. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Kyle. Thank you, too. I like seeing your live shows as much as possible. And the reason why I like hearing what you got to say, but other Bama fans, too. You have other really good, knowledgeable fans call in to give insight on the season and on the team and stuff like that. So I like seeing as much as possible. And you're right. Just test the waters. If it works out, fine. If not, then you can concentrate more on the evening shows. But I like seeing you. But, hey, man, this season overall, the way I see it is I don't like saying things are rigged or whatever, and things, in the college football. But the way this season's set up, it looks like the Big Ten's going to get two teams in there no matter what. I mean, for some reason, the national media, whoever, thinks Ohio State and Michigan walk on water, and one team can lose to the other, just like last year, and they'll both still be in there. So I think no matter what, the way the season's playing out, and one of the teams are going to have a loss. One of them two teams are going to be in the playoffs. And with that being, Michigan, Ohio State's going to be in the playoffs no matter what. And with that being said, it's going to be real hard for Bama to get into the playoffs. It's going to be real hard for them. And the reason why is because they're a one-loss team, but as far as the AP polling, they're the third-ranked one-loss team there is. I think these other, like Oregon, may be ranked higher, and Texas is ranked higher, and I understand that. So it's going to be real hard for Bama to get to the playoffs, in my opinion, just because of that loss to Texas. And honestly, man, what I perceive to be Bama fatigue. I mean, Bama's owned college football these past 10 or 15 years. The population center of the country, the media center of the country up north in the Midwest and California, they just want to see some of these other big market teams getting there. So but that's going to be really hard for Bama to make the playoffs. And the only way, in my opinion, they do it, the only way Bama makes the playoffs is if they win out, and if Georgia wins out, and they beat an undefeated number one Georgia team in the championship, SEC championship game, then Alabama may have an argument to get in there, or definitely will have an argument to get in there. But if Bama doesn't beat Georgia, of course they're out. But even if Georgia loses, if Bama beats a one-loss Georgia team, well then that may not be enough ammo for them to get in. So, but I see but the way they've been treating these Big Ten teams for no reason, Michigan just simply doesn't play anybody. I mean, Ohio State, okay, they played two tough games and won them. Okay, yeah, I won't take that away from them. But Michigan, they simply ain't played nobody, and all they got to do is beat Ohio State. Their one game of the year, and they got their place reserved in the playoffs. Or lose to Ohio State maybe, and they're still in the playoffs. But this is going to be really hard. Like I said, the way it's set up right now, it's going to be really hard for Bama to get in my opinion.
Yeah, I posted this graphic and I have it up right now. This is the All-State ESPN playoff predictor as of today, and it's pretty cool because you can plug in different scenarios. So as of today, they have Ohio State 74%, Michigan at 46%, Oklahoma at 63%, and Florida State at 59%, Georgia 31%, Alabama at 30%. And of course, like, you can pick the different teams and look at the different scenarios. But I think, as Chad pointed out, I think with Michigan and Ohio State both being on the west of the Big Ten, I think it favors those two teams getting in. And then it comes down to what happens in the Big 12, and it happens to see if Florida State can sustain that. Now, Florida State does play, somewhat of a tough back-end schedule. They play Miami, they play Florida, then they're going to have to play most likely North Carolina. Those are three difficult games that they have. Plus, things get squirrely for them sometimes. And same thing with Oklahoma. I don't think you can write any of these Big 12 teams in. Georgia still plays, at Tennessee. They play Florida. There's a lot that can go on, and Ohio State still has to play Michigan. So, and then, you're tracking the Pac-12 teams. They're almost, with that 24% chance or whatever. I think, let's look at Washington's schedule, who they have left. Washington still has to play. They go to Stanford this coming weekend. Then they play at USC. They still play Utah. They play Oregon State, and they play Washington State. That's a tough back-end schedule for Washington's 100% going to lose one of those games. 100%. And Oregon's already lost. So the Pac-12, I don't think any teams are going to make it from there. Okay, let's play You Make the Call. We're on with Mike from Austin. Let me bring that graphic up. And keys to beating LSU. What you got, Mike? Keys when you looked at that LSU game taking place on November 4th?
Well, they got to shut down Jalen Daniels. That's the number one thing. They got to limit him, limit his scrambling, limit his overall play, because you know what it takes. I mean, these teams in the past 10 years that have beaten Bama, they've done it because the quarterback was a superstar for the day. That's how you beat Bama, is you have an outstanding quarterback play. So with that being said, in order for Alabama to beat LSU, they got to shut down Jalen Daniels or just limit his big plays, limit them big time. That's the key to beating LSU right there.
Yeah, and what's up, Danny? I see you inside the comment box. He said, if you're judging the level of success we'll have against LSU based on Tennessee, bro, you're sadly mistaken. This is a totally different animal. This is the number one offense in the country. Absolutely. And I think that they're going to be challenged by Alabama's great defense. That's what we're talking about, the defense today. And if the defense is able to be up to the task to go against Jayden Daniels, I mean, you look at the numbers, his efficiency rating is fantastic. 71% throwing the football, 2,300 yards, 25 touchdowns to 3 interception ratio. They have elite wide receivers. I think when you look at the 5 best wide receiving units in all of the country, LSU is right there. Thank goodness this game is at Bryant-Denny Stadium. 100%. This team is very talented. LSU, 100%. This will be their most challenging game since that Texas matchup, 100%. And Alabama's defense has to get pressure. Those corners are going to be tested. Caleb Downs is going to be tested in different scenarios. So, yeah, LSU, no joke for sure. What about this Kevin Stills defense while we're talking about defense, Mike? When you look to this defense and how it's transformed, I think we've talked about it before. It's worlds different than under Pete Golding. And the great thing about this team is the ability to go into the locker room, to make second half adjustments, and to come out and outplay Ole Miss, to come out and outplay Tennessee, because the defense, what they did against Tennessee and what they did against Ole Miss, I mean, those are such impressive halftime adjustments.
It is. The defense is night and day different than what they've been under Pete Golding. If you remember last year, the year before, it seems like Alabama's defense was constantly out of position. Mm-hmm. They were getting burned deep all the time. They were getting burned short. It's night and day. So Kevin Steele has done, I think, wonders with the defense. And honestly, like I know, defense has kind of carried the way so far and given the offense time to find who they are and find the rhythm a bit. But if not for this defense, Alabama would already have 1 or 2 losses, or 2 losses, I should say. But, yeah, it's night and day, because last year, as talented as the defense was, and the year before, they were constantly getting burned because of coaching and being out of position. So Nick Saban, being the great coach that he is, he did exactly what he needed to do, was replace the defensive coordinator, and that's what he did. And, yeah, the defense is playing a lot better. But honestly, Kyle, it's not the defense I'm worried about, man. Our defense is there, no doubt about it. It's Bama's offense that, because once again, we beat Tennessee, and that was a great victory, by the way. But Bama, again, did not even put up more than 400 yards. It was a total 360 yards. Well, yeah, that's good offensive efficiency, absolutely. But Bama's offense has got to start putting up more yards. Now, I guess they're playing very efficient, and Jalen Milroe is definitely getting better. I mean, the Tennessee game proved how much better he's getting. But thank goodness we got a good defense and let the offense continue to gel and continue to get better, and our Bama's running game to find their way. But, yeah, man, the defense is you can tell the overall positioning of the defensive backfield is 100% better than it was last year. So I give Nick Saban and Kevin Steele and all the other defensive coaches 100% kudos on how good the defense is this year. So they're doing real good.
We got Georgia and Florida taking place this coming weekend. You got Utah and Oregon. I'm asking for picks on Georgia and Florida, but can you give me a pick on that one? And then also Oregon, Utah?
Yeah, I'd say Georgia beats Florida. I mean, Georgia's just a better team. And I know they've had that big injury on their tight end here last, but they've got other good tight ends behind that guy too. I mean, I say Georgia's a better team. I say straight up they beat Florida. I don't know what's happened to Florida, man. You look at the coaches. They went through like 4 or 5 coaches in the past 10 years, and the best one they had was Dan Mullen. Yeah. And in my opinion, Kyle, they got rid of Dan Mullen because of politics, like COVID politics. That's my lame opinion. Why they got rid of Dan Mullen, but like I'm not taking a position on. I'm just saying why they got rid of him. And because he was the best coach they had, they took Bama to the extreme of the championship game, and and Dan Mullen he won his bowl games. They won 10, 11 games for the most part, except for his last year, I believe, which is a COVID year. But in my opinion, man, straight up, there's no way that Florida beats Georgia. I mean, I guess they could, but I think there's about a good 80% chance Georgia wins that game. Another thing, like I talk about, just SEC bias and anti-SEC fatigue, and how in the world do these ranksters not have Georgia #1 team in the country? What else do you have to? And I'm not a Georgia fan. I'm just an outsider looking in. What else do you have to do except win every game on your schedule for 3 years straight now to be #1? How in the world? Because you look at the Sports Illustrated power rankings, #1, 2, and 3, and Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State with 1 loss. I mean, it's a complete joke. But all Georgia does is win, and some rankings have them as low as #2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatsoever. But they're a good team, man, and they got good coaching as well, and apparently they got a good quarterback too. But yeah, I say there's no way Georgia loses to Florida. I mean, I guess there is a way, but I say it's rare. The only chance Florida has with that quarterback they have, I think, is that transfer in from Wisconsin. Mertz, I think his name is. He seems to play good every now and then. So if that guy has a good game, if that guy has a real good game, and if Florida can put up 30 points, they got a chance of winning. Other than that, I say Georgia beats them just because Georgia's the better team.
I'm looking at this Georgia schedule right now. So you got UT Martin. They're able to win that game 48-7. Then they took on Ball State, won that game 45-3. Then they took on South Carolina and they won that game 24-14. Then they played UAB, came out on top. Went to Auburn, had to come from behind to beat the Tigers, won 27-20. So, I mean, the best game that they have is, beating Kentucky, which they did handily, 51-13. But even Vanderbilt, I think Vanderbilt struck first on them. That was like the first time they scored in like 7 years or something like that in the first quarter on Georgia or something like that. But look at that schedule. Yeah, that schedule's light. That schedule's really light. So here's their back end schedule. They take on Florida. Then they go to Missouri. Then they play Missouri in Georgia. They take on Ole Miss. Then they go to Neyland Stadium to take on Tennessee. And then they end with Georgia Tech. And that's a very light schedule. And I think the one thing that, the College Football Playoff Committee likes, I've been saying this, is it seems like they like style points, right? They want you it's just record and style points. That's why, like a team like Michigan, you look at what they've done despite their schedule, you just look at on paper wins and losses and their record, they're in 100%. I mean, they're killing everybody.
Yeah, that is a light schedule.
Yeah.
That is a light schedule, Kyle, but when you put that up, all I seen was a bunch of green W's right there. And compare that to Michigan's schedule. Apparently, they're not holding it against Michigan. In my opinion, has a weaker schedule than Georgia across the board.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Georgia fan, man, but in their defense, they did have Oklahoma scheduled, and then the SEC made them cancel that game because of the Oklahoma and Texas coming into the league. But they did have Oklahoma scheduled, and beyond their control. I hear what you're saying, man. Believe me, it's been a beef of mine how lame Georgia's schedule is. But however, Michigan has a lamer schedule, easier schedule, and it's not being held against them as much. I mean, that's but I hear what you're saying. But like I said, they're like you were saying too, the beef of their schedules coming up these next 4 or 5 games. They've got some tough games coming up. The Tennessee game may be a tough one for them. Ole Miss is probably a little better team than people give them credit for, because I think they only got one loss against Bama, and Ole Miss has got a good coach, Lane Kiffin, love him or hate him, who, by the way, I think is going to be the next Alabama coach. But I see that, but like I said, they're not holding that against Michigan, but they'll definitely kind of hold that against Georgia a little bit. But we'll see what Georgia's made of starting this weekend against Florida and the cocktail party, and then coming up these next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll see what Georgia's made of. Absolutely.
All right, and 2 more. So you got Bama's best win so far. Is it as easy to say as it's the win against Tennessee? That's what everyone has said so far.
Yeah, that has to be their best win so far, simply because of how bittersweet it was last year. Getting beat in the fashion that one game cost Bama the season, kind of. And it's that's got to be their best overall win so far against. But I think their most solid win so far would be. It might be kind of ridiculous to say, but against Mississippi State. I mean, Mississippi State's a solid team, a decent team anyway, I should say. But and Bama really thoroughly put it to them. But yeah, I'd say it's a solid win. But like I say, man, that win against Tennessee, Bama only put up 365 yards of total offense. I mean, I don't want to nitpick and take that away from them. But I guess I might show efficiency. I don't know. I don't know what it shows, but and I'm gonna go ahead and say this, Kyle, and don't get me done, man. I'm a major Bama fan right here. You know that, but I want to go ahead and just condition my mind right now and tell you that Bama's going to lose to LSU, man. That's because LSU is going to put up points. They're going to put up points. Maybe I'm just mentally conditioned in my mind right now. Bama for the letdown or whatever. Bama's going to put up LSU's going to put up points. Bama's got a good D. But LSU's got a really, really good offense. And that quarterback of theirs, that dude's almost spectacular, man. That dude's spectacular. And I see LSU puts up 30-plus points, and then Bama can't do it. And I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction on that game where Bama gets beat by LSU, man, in Tuscaloosa.
All right, Mike. I appreciate it. Danny, and the phone lines are open, man. So if you want to call in, man, please call in and give us your take on LSU. I'd love to catch up with you. Mike has LSU beating Bama. Okay, last thing we got for you, Mike, before we get to our next callers. And inside the call queue, we have a 256 and a 631. We'll get to you guys in just a second. Is Bama better than these teams like Washington, Oregon, Florida State, North Carolina? Or, is it just too early to tell, or is it just hypothetical and doesn't even matter? What's your take, Mike?
I say yes, Bama's better than them teams. And the reason why is defense. That Pac-12 and ACC, they've never played an NFL-like defense like Bama has. It kind of be like, Georgia playing an NFL team, man. It's just a different level of play. I mean, but yeah, I'd say Bama's better than them teams because of the physicality and the defense. And Bama's defense would match up well against their, the physicality of it. I'd say, yeah, that's, absolutely. But the Pac-12 definitely. I don't think there's anybody in the Pac-12, including Washington, Oregon, that can hang with Bama. That far as I know, man. But the ACC, Florida State, I don't think so either, dude. I think Bama's better than all them teams. I think the only team that can beat Bama, God, I hate to say it, is LSU, man. I think that's the only team that can beat Bama. But we'll see how that plays out. We'll see how that plays out, Kyle. But don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for his team now, man. I'm rooting for the good guys, Bama. Don't get me wrong now, but I guess I'm just conditioning my mind, and like I say, just what it takes to beat Bama's quarterback play. And LSU's got the quarterback. They got the coaching. And their defense is probably, I think LSU's defense has been struggling, but man, they got the dudes, man. They got the big old physical dudes. I don't know why they're really, I don't know, man. But if LSU shows up and plays their best game, Bama's going to be in trouble. Because like I say, God bless the good guys in Tuscaloosa, man, but their offense is not putting up the yardage. They're not putting up, they're still just not clicking offensively, and eventually it's going to come back to haunt them. But hey, Kyle, good talking to you, man. Keep up the good work here on the YouTube, and I'm glad to see you on more often. I enjoy watching the show, and I'll stay tuned in, man. You take care.
All right, man. Take it easy, man. I appreciate the calling.